Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pickardian.
Jared Brandon Wampips.
Hey everybody, it's me, Todd Novak, and we had to restart because I forgot to hit record. But we're glad that you're here listening to us anyways.
Yay. Welcome.
Oh my goodness, I'm a moron.
Yep.
So we got about 5-6 minutes into the show. But that's
right.
okay. We're gonna do it all over for you, and we won't reenact anything.
Why not?
We don't do that because we're sincere, baby. Listen, we are super happy that you are along for the ride for the Guitar Knobs podcast tonight. We have a great show in front of us. Gentlemen, what do?
We talk about guitars
Stuff like that.
and gear,
Amps,
pedals,
boutique
pedal boards,
boutique
and
builders. Occasionally we get somebody who is influencing all these things in one
and
way or another.
reviewing them.
Such as our guest who's on the line.
I'm Rhett Shull, professional guitarist, semi-professional videographer, video maker, something like that.
Excellent. Well said. You've got a fantastic YouTube channel, Rhett, and that's why you're on the show.
Appreciate it.
Yes. I actually ran into it completely on accident. I can't even remember how, but I was like, wait, what's this? Oh, that's right. I was looking up overdrives and your video came up, which was stacking overdrives. And I watched it and I was like, I like this guy, so let's get him on the show. I appreciate your approach. You're clearly a professional in your production, in your playing, in your, all things considered, but you approach your content for those who are not professionals, and that is appreciated because I'm that.
Well,
Obviously.
He wears a record button.
I don't see anything red.
Whoops.
Oh boy. Anyways, so we have got a fantastic show for you. We're very excited about it. I'm going to run through a little bit of news, and then we'll get on with all of the good stuff. Just really quick, I want to give a rundown. We've got a whole lot of great guests coming up for you guys. We have SNK Pedals, which I just kind of hyping up on Instagram. I received his pedals, and I was like really wowed by them. We had a ringing endorsement from none other than Ding-a-ling-a-ling John Schneider, who chimed in immediately and said, these things are the real deal. We also have Henry Amps coming up, and Cooper Effects, and Native Audio, formerly Red House Electronics. Mike Trombley, our old,
I miss
our long
Mikey,
lost
man.
co-host.
I wish he would come on the show more often.
Yes, and
Is he coming to the studio?
He is coming in.
Oh,
the studio.
No, it'll be like old times.
Yeah, we've got Tone Snob is going to be on soon,
Sweet.
and we got your boys, the Painters.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
The Painters.
Lays.
Up in Akron.
That's right. They're going to come in and talk to us about
Are they
painting
coming in
guitars.
too?
A.K.A.
Oh, cool.
Dan up at Lay's.
Yeah, man, Joel.
Do
Yep.
they make potato chips?
No, but I wish they did. Those are my favorite. Okay. Woohoo. Make sure you listen to us on Spotify if you get a chance, or continue listening wherever you're at. Like wherever you're comfortable is cool.
Still on YouTube, right?
And don't forget to like us and write a review and all that stuff too.
That
Yeah.
is true. Please do that.
If you don't like us, just forget about it.
Yes. Well, yeah. Or just tell us why.
Yeah.
That'll work. I'll listen to
Yeah,
you.
you tell us why on the back of a $20 bill.
And
Just
Tony
tell
will fix
Todd
it.
why.
I also wanted to give a sincere shout out to Jared and Tony for being part of the show. Like, honestly, I look forward to this every single week. I thoroughly enjoy your guys' friendship. I appreciate your contribution to the show, and I'm glad that Tony's back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You are welcome.
That's the way I like it.
It's as if I never left.
That was
Yes.
so sweet.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I was editing, and I listened to Jared talking about his tooth thing, which is on the honey tea one that I was recently editing, and I was just laughing. I was like, who else would talk about going to the dentist on a guitar show? I love it.
Wow.
Anyways, we got a little bit of news.
Yes. Yeah. I just happened to notice that Gibson has announced a new leadership team.
Mm-hmm.
And it apparently starts with the new CEO/president, James Curley, who goes by JC.
Yeah. He was the Levi's.
He was from Levi Strauss.
That's right.
They also named a new chief marketing officer and chief financial officer too. So hopefully,
And that was not me.
no, it was not you
I did apply though.
for the CFO
Gibson
or CMO.
You messed up.
Oh my God,
All
they
right.
they don't know what they're missing.
I know.
Aw,
But
man.
hopefully it's a harbinger of good things to come for Gibson. Apparently JC is a guitar fan and a Gibson fan, and so I think it's always good to have
Well,
someone.
that's what his
Gonna
resume said.
Yeah. Right the ship.
Yeah.
Gonna right the ship.
So hopefully get it back up,
Yep.
sailing smooth and straight.
Nice.
I
Well
like that
done.
line.
Rhett, you recently had an episode on your YouTube called WTF Gibson ?
Yeah, that was an interesting video. It's definitely my biggest video, and I did not anticipate it being as big as it has gotten, and nor did I anticipate it being as controversial as it's become. But yeah, I basically just talked about, if you haven't seen the video, I kind of went on a little bit of a rant and shared my unfiltered opinion about the 2019 Les Paul Standard, where I just think it's the wrong guitar at the wrong time for Gibson. And, I guess we can get into more detail about that later. But
Yes.
I think this is good news. Seeing this today, a subscriber of mine sent me the article. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. But
Yeah, it's really encouraging. I mean, if you get into it a little further, it basically it looks like the strategy is things that we have talked about. One, simplifying the line,
yes,
getting back to the things that made Gibson famous, getting rid of the ancillary things like headphones and
Yep.
recording equipment and all the
video
other
monitors that have flamed maple tops on the front of them.
things. Yeah.
Or guitars that have rainbows.
Or they tune themselves.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it's going to be a good thing, and people that I know that work at Gibson are also feeling good about the change.
Excellent.
So I think it's gonna turn into a more positive thing for Gibson.
Great. And then in 15 or 20 years, when I can afford to buy a used one from this year, it'll be great.
Nah, it's going to be. I predict the big market is going to be pre-2005 Gibsons.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the last of really true rosewood. None of the goofy stuff that they started doing in the mid-teens with the auto
Well,
tunes.
then I'm aces.
Yeah. So
All
get
right.
yourself a pre-2005.
All right. Words of wisdom by Tony.
Yes.
All right. So with that, we're going to jump into what's going on in our music worlds this week. Tony, we haven't heard from you in a long time,
Yeah.
except for right now. So let's listen to Jared.
Well, I was actually sifting through the social medias, and I found something that caught my eye, and I was like, wow, that is so cool. That'll be so awesome to talk about today, because I've been pretty much busy with boring stuff, and nobody wants to hear about boring stuff. So I was looking at this post this guy posted, and it was a small pedal, and it's called the Maestro Fuzz Tone. Maestro Fuzz Tone.
Okay.
And it must have been right after Gibson bought Maestro in the early 60s. And it's a small black pedal, and the two knobs on it are actual top hat knobs, which, people know what they are if you're a big vintage Gibson guy. Same knobs they put on their SGs and other model guitars. And so I recognized those right away. And this was a really early model this gentleman had posted. And you look on the back of it, and it has a patent applied for decal. The exact same one you find on the, godly expensive Gibson humbuckers
I think
from
it's
the
ungodly, but that's okay.
ungodly expensive. Yeah, you're right.
Is that with a capital G or a lowercase?
I don't know. Well, capital if you're talking about the double creams. They're really expensive, okay? So when you look at the back of this Maestro pedal, you see this decal on the top, and it's confusing because you see the same decal on the original old pickups that go for big money. And the patent applied for, in short, is PAF, and people refer to humbuckers as PAF pickups. Like, oh, hey, I got this really cool PAF the other day. So I don't think people are going to really make that connection when they see the decal, but I just thought it was really, really cool.
Is that on the outside of the box or inside the box?
It's on the outside of the bottom of the box.
Oh, okay, cool. And it's the same decal.
Yep.
Huh.
Exact same decal. I got pictures of it, but the viewers out there can't see it.
All right.
There you have it.
Lovely. Rhett, let's hear from you.
Well, this is kind of a crazy week. I had rehearsal today. I've got a couple of shows coming up this week with a friend of mine named Noah Guthrie, who I've been playing with for probably 5 or 6 years now. And from the show, I'm going to be driving to Wilmington, North Carolina, to Mojo Tone's headquarters to do, they're doing this amp building class. And they invited me to come out and basically build, I think, like a Tweed Deluxe or something like that, and make a video about it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I've never built an amp before. I've modded my Blues Junior, but that's about it. And then I guess technically this is next week, but as soon as I get home, I'll be getting on a plane to fly to Oman in the Middle East. We're flying all the way there to play a 30-minute acoustic set and then coming right back.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How long of a flight is that?
I was looking at it today I live in Atlanta. So from Atlanta to Doha in Qatar is like 13 and a half hours. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh my.
But the place we're playing is really cool. It's like some 5-star resort. It's basically a corporate gig, and it looks like a place that Bond villains would hang out at. So we're spending 2 days in the Middle East and then coming straight home. So yeah.
Are you gonna have a chance to at least stay there a little bit, or did you say you got to come right back?
Well, we're gonna be there for 2 days, so we'll fly out on Monday. I don't know when the show is, and then I'm just anticipating not sleeping for about 36 hours because it's maybe 10 hours ahead, 8 hours ahead. Wow. I have no idea. I'm just gonna be in a different.
That's grueling, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of fun, man. I love doing that kind of stuff. So.
Not sleeping for 36 hours.
Yeah. No,
you can do that right here at home.
Well, right. No, that's why I got into music, man. Sleeping in the back of vans and all that stuff.
I just saw a homeless guy in the subway that was nodding off, and I don't think he slept for 36 hours. He couldn't stay awake.
That's quite possible.
Yeah. Tony?
Yeah.
What do you got going on this week?
This week? Gosh, it's been crazy. I've been off for 2 weeks on vacation and had a great time. And while I was gone, I had a little treat delivered to home, and it was something that I was really curious about. And I usually when I do things like this, they don't turn out as positive. But I went on to. I think it's DHgate. It's basically the Chinese Amazon, and I found a Johnny Ramone Mosrite replica, and I said so delivered from China. The thing cost $241 with shipping, and I said this is going to be.
Yeah, I almost bought one with
you.
I was like, what?
I mean, it's so ridiculously cheap that even if it was really bad, it wouldn't be like losing $1,000.
No.
So I had I had the foresight to contact the guy or the company that's building this thing, and there were a couple of things that they kind of misrepresented in terms of photography, and we finally got the proper pictures of things as they would be made, and had to go back and forth a couple of times. They made a couple of mistakes, but so I got it. When I got home, went to the post office, and it was waiting for me. Cracked it open, and it is. I have to say, for a $240-some guitar, it's a really pretty darn close to a Mosrite. Johnny's guitar was a mid-60s Ventures 2 model, which was a slab body that they made maybe 60 of before Semi Mosley said, no, I want it to have German carving on the top again. But So it was really, I was very pleasantly surprised.
And
so
for those who don't know what a German carve is, would you explain that really quick?
yeah, it's just kind of like a border carve around the outside edge of the top.
Yeah, like a bevel, like a scooped bevel.
Yeah, it's like a
kind
scooped
of.
bevel,
Yeah.
yeah, basically. And that was kind of a typical Moserite thing, but the Ventures 2 model, they were trying to make a maybe a little less expensive version of it, and Semi put the brakes on that, and they went back. So there's just a very short period of time that they made the Ventures 2 model, and Johnny actually had 2 of the 60 that were made. The first one was a blue one that was stolen, and then he found a white one that had a lot of modifications to it.
Right.
So, I started by taking it all apart, and I mean the electronics were bad. They have fake Grover tuning machines on it, so those I have replacements coming for that. I put the proper electronics in it. Had to do some routing inside the body so that I could actually put full size potentiometers in, and I think it's going to turn into a pretty cool guitar. It's a little heavier than I thought it might be, but again, for the money. I really can't complain. So we'll post some pictures of that as the project is completed.
Nice. Excellent. Well, I'm glad you bought it. It's cool. I dig it. But yeah.
You can always borrow it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. I brought home from my recent trip to Georgia, I stopped down and hung out with Nick Greer at his Greer amp business, and that was cool. We had a good time hanging out. Got myself a little hat, and I picked up the Southland Harmonic Overdrive, which is pretty cool. Plugged that in, got some sweet tones out of it. Super solid build. Everything the guy makes is legit and it's really good quality. So I'm experimenting with that and seeing where it fits within my sound. Does it fit within our new band? Is it just what do I do with it? So I'm checking it out.
What do you mean by harmonic or overdrive?
Well,
explain that a little.
I unfortunately am not the authority on harmonic overdrives. What I pull that to be is it kind of has the like overtones. Like when you get into fuzz territory, sometimes you get like those kind of harmonic overtones. It does have that quality, almost like a really pushed. If you got a really pushed guitar out of a neck pickup, you kind of get that sort of extra buzz to it that isn't necessarily distortion. It's just an extra kind of sound.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm interpreting. But if somebody else has a more scientific approach to it, happy to hear it.
I always
you want to
think
add to that?
I always think of harmonics.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of. I mean, I don't. If there's any like actual engineers or anybody listening, people are gonna.
John Snyder's
Their
rolling
heads
over
are
in his-
exploding
yeah.
right now.
But I know. I guess a little bit about like first order and second order harmonics and kind of how that stuff works. My dad is an electrical engineer by training, and so I've kind of grown up around that stuff. But I don't know if that's designed into the overdrive pedal.
I think
Or
it's
just
really
a name,
designed.
or-
It's like the sympathetic notes that you get. I mean, basically they're octaves apart.
Yeah.
And I think what the pedal is designed to do is to amplify or make those happen more easily.
Yeah. I'm taking it as it's called the Southland Overdrive, and I did zero research on it. We just talked about it, and I said, yeah, let me check that out. But to me, it sounded like something that if you were trying to get sort of a Billy Gibbons or kind of a, for lack of a better term, Southern Rocky kind of sound, it has a little bit of that to it. That's where I was taking it. I could be way off. I don't know, but that's what I'm interpreting it as.
Can you use that with a harmonica?
You probably could. It would probably sound amazing.
And while singing harmonies?
Yes.
And that's
All those
Greer
things.
amps from beautiful Athens, Georgia,
Yeah.
home of
So I'm
the
still
B-52s,
Yes.
Ooh.
REM,
Yeah.
Ooh.
the Indigo Girls.
Okay.
There are a whole bunch of bands that came
Yeah.
out from Athens, Georgia.
Is
Yeah.
that a pretty big town?
I
College town.
It's a college
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
College Town?
Bulldogs.
Yep.
Yep, but we won't get into that. Anyways, so yeah, good stuff from Nick. And speaking of pedals,
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
okay, Rhett, give us your 4 on the floor.
All right. Well, first, since we were just talking about Greer, I would definitely have to go with the Lightspeed. I've had my Lightspeed since maybe 2014 or 15, something like that. I bought it at Atlanta Discount Music, which is, if anybody is familiar with the Atlanta area, you know about Discount Music. That place is a cornerstone of the Atlanta gear scene. But I've owned it, and it has been used on literally every gig, every session, every pedal board I've had since I've owned it. It's pretty much an always on pedal for me. I usually run my amps relatively clean, and I use the Lightspeed as a way of just kind of kicking the amp a little bit harder to get, kind of that little sweet edge of breakup tone. So it's great. It also works incredibly well with almost every other overdrive or distortion or fuzz I've put either in front of it or behind it. In fact, the overdrive stacking video, Todd, that you saw was inspired by the Lightspeed because it just works well with every pedal I've used it with. It's amazing. So definitely the Lightspeed. From there, I would probably go with the Jex Telez Canyon Climber. So it's this very crazy fuzz box that was recommended to me by a producer and musician who I really, really respect, a guy up in Nashville. And he produced one of the artists that I play for, Jesse Wilson, and they used this fuzz tone on basically every guitar part on her record. And I'm trying to remember what it's a clone of. It's a clone of an old Japanese fuzz from the 70s that I'm totally blanking on right now. But it's this just crazy, it's what I call a character effect, which is something that it's not an effect you would use on every tune. It's used maybe once or twice during a set, but man, when you kick that thing on, it literally turns people's heads. If I'm on a gig or whatever and I hit that fuzz, I can literally watch a couple people in the crowd look over what is that? It's amazing. I love it. It's also a lot of fun to stack with a really crazy reverb, like a big, huge, washy reverb sound for some reason is a lot of fun with this gnarly fuzz tone. So
that's a great way to characterize that type of effect. We've used different adjectives to characterize certain pedals, which are really just color or noise, but a character effect is I think that's a good term for that.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of a wide umbrella, right? You can fit a lot of different effects or sounds under that sort of name, but I don't know. I feel like everybody needs at least one of those on their board, or at least one of those types of sounds that you can pull out in a set and kind of grab people's attention. So for me, it's either that or an octave fuzz. I have the Hoof Reaper V2 from Earthquaker that I love. That is that same way. I like using that octave effect and then rolling the volume on the guitar almost all the way off, so it gets this really spitty, gated thing. But that's not my third pedal. I think my third pedal would be the Vertex Ultraphonics that just came out, which is essentially like a Dumble overdrive special in a box. And I
think you had that on that video as well, and I went and checked it out after that.
Yeah. So I think on that video I was using, oh god, no, I can't remember, either the dynamic or the steel string. It was probably the steel string I was using on that one.
Okay.
Which is another Dumble in a box from Vertex. That's the steel string Singer. Now, I don't have personal experience owning an overdrive special or a steel string Singer or touring on one because they're incredibly expensive. But I just really like the way that thing responds. I've had it for about 3 weeks. I put it on my board as soon as I got it from Mason, and it hasn't come off. So it's really touch responsive. And that's one thing that I really like when it comes to overdrives, especially is the touch sensitivity, because as guitar players, we have the ability, like we have different ways of expression on our instrument that, say, a piano doesn't have, or drums don't have. And the fact that we can bend notes, we can vibrato, and we have, well, I guess pianos do have, touch dynamics and everything. But that's, to me, touch dynamics is the reason I don't run a compressor on my board, is because I like to be able to lighten my touch up and change the tone that's coming out of the amp. And so that's one thing I really look for with any pedal that ends up on my board, is how touch sensitive is it, either by how hard you're hitting the guitar or, rolling off the volume. And the Ultraphonics does that really, really well. So
I hear you on that. I also have not been able to commit to a compressor for the same reason, because I like pick attack to give me dynamic. And that's, oddly enough, something that I found in spades with that SNK pedal, the CMO. It's called the CMO. It's got this crazy sun design on it.
Sure.
And I couldn't believe how touch sensitive that was.
Yeah, I mean, compressors definitely have their place. And I used to run a compressor. I had a JHS Pulp and Peel for a long time, which is a great pedal. But
yeah,
I just got to the point where it was like, okay, it's not letting me do what I want to do. So I took it off the board and haven't put one back on since. So
I think if you're playing stuff I'm playing mostly rhythms and very attacky kind of things.
Yeah.
I mean, at least my own personal experience or understanding is that if you're playing things that require maybe a more constant, delicate touch, or more intricate type things, then having a compressor might be maybe more helpful. Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing like lead work and things like that, some things that need, maybe your
constant.
Yeah, if your pick attack is changing, so it keeps your volume, the note volume about the same from note to note. So, I mean, yeah, I've never been one to like a compressor that's on all the time. It just never seems to work, at least for me. I mean, it might work for some people. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it clearly does. I mean,
oh, absolutely. And I totally get the compressor as like, you turn it on if you're wanting to do like some chicken picking stuff or some funk rhythm stuff, and you want that super squashed guitar sound. But I don't do that kind of stuff normally, so it doesn't earn a spot on the pedal board.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess fourth is one I just got last week that is blowing my mind. It's another Jex Telez fuzz. They just came out with, it's called the Black Drone Wasp. I think there's only 50 right now, but this thing is doing the thing that I love fuzzes to do, which is make my amp sound like it's about to just explode. Like
that's rad.
That's exactly what I want from a fuzz. Is I want the amp just to be like in pain and screaming. So, this thing, from what I understand, I don't know anything about it. It just has 2 knobs, 3 switches. One is, and it's got a spray painted top on it, like a stenciled spray painted top. And it's got a knob labeled V, which I'm assuming is volume, and a knob labeled S, which I'm assuming is sustain. And then it has 3 switches that I don't know what they do. They change the sound somehow. They're not labeled. And
That's kind of fun.
Well, they do have little logos under them. One has like a high pass filter logo. The other has a low pass filter, but I think they're actually backwards because when you flip the high pass, it actually gets fatty and more like bassier, I guess, if that's a word. Fatter, not fatty, whatever.
That's a different thing altogether.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, you get more highs out of that.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it just sounds incredible, man. And it does that thing, which is like, it makes your amp sound like it's about to die in the best way possible.
That's cool.
So
that is attractive sounding. Those are the first 2 Jex Telez pedals that anybody's mentioned, which I'm actually really surprised about, because that is one of those sort of more elusive boutique pedals that they've been around for a little bit, and they get they get highly spoken of, but they haven't gotten mentioned that much. So I'm glad that you brought those up.
Yeah, I would never have bought the Canyon Climber on my own. It was because basically the producer told me, he was like, dude, if you're going to play these songs, this is the sound. So buy one. So I did, and could not be happier with it.
That's
and
great.
So I started making some videos with it, and the owner of the company reached out and sent me some stuff, and the stuff he sent me, all of it is good. He sent me 3 pedals, and 2 of them ended up on the board. So,
well, if you talk to him again, tell him we'd like to have him on the show.
Sure.
Cool. All right. That is solid form, my man. I like it.
Yeah.
So obviously you're pretty familiar with pedals, as is showcased in your YouTube, which let me just, give a little bit of overview real quick why you're on the show. For those who, for whatever reason, may have just been, turned it on and went out and got a cold drink and some ice and couldn't hear because the ice machine was too loud while I was setting you up. But essentially, your YouTube channel is solid. You've got a lot of really fantastic videos going into great detail from a very educational standpoint, helping us understand tone, understanding pedal dynamics, understanding some guitar dynamics, going into maybe even some actual just playing help and understanding amps. So you're covering the whole gambit, and you're doing so in a way that, from a visual standpoint, it's engaging. From an audio standpoint, it's engaging. From an educational standpoint, it's very engaging. So it's one of the better guitar channels or guitar related YouTube channels that I've encountered, and I've encountered a lot. So I was very anxious to get you on the show, and I was happy that you said yes.
Well, I appreciate it, man. That's high praise coming from someone who's seasoned in the guitar YouTube realm. So yeah, I started the channel back in January of this year, and really didn't know kind of what I was expecting or what my goals were for the first few months. But since June, really, it's really kind of gained some traction, and it's now sort of become the full-time thing, which is awesome because it has allowed me to kind of take a step back from some of the gigs and some of the things I was doing that I wasn't necessarily happy about, doing, and allowed me to only take the stuff that I really want to take and focus on making videos, which is a ton of fun, man. Just getting to sit and talk about gear or technique, or share a story about how I got into music or whatever, and then kind of create a little film around it, to me is incredibly engaging. And I've learned a ton in this year of, producing all this content and stuff. So yeah, I love it.
It's pretty amazing that you've only been doing that since June. I mean, you've got, did you say June or January?
Well, I started in January, and really the first 4 or 5 months were me kind of just throwing stuff against the wall until something stuck. So
yeah, I wasn't checking the dates on him. Tony corrected me because he's smarter than I am. He didn't realize that, but he heard what I didn't hear. So
you'd mentioned you do things about how you got into music.
Yeah.
Can you share that with us now?
Sure. Yeah. So, I grew up and started playing guitar around the age of maybe 13. I heard Red House for the first time, Jimi Hendrix, and it blew my mind. It's like a 12-year-old kid. I was like, what is this? I have to figure this out and do this. So got a guitar for Christmas, just kind of as like an afterthought. My parents were like, okay, well, this is a cheap little $50 Strat or whatever from Walmart. And, he'll play with it for a week and then it'll, collect dust. And then I got the guitar, and I've never put it down since. And so, graduated. School was always really tough for me. Barely graduated high school, failed out of college after a year. And not long after that, I went to music school here in Atlanta and kind of decided that music was the path and what I needed to be doing. So went to music school at a place called Atlanta Institute of Music. And basically for a year straight did nothing but eat, sleep, and breathe guitar. It was the first time I'd ever been in any kind of learning environment. Up until then, I'd been totally self-taught on guitar. I'd never had a lesson, never learned anything. And, YouTube wasn't a thing back then. The internet was around, but YouTube wasn't. And so I was basically learning everything by ear. So after about a year of intense musical training, I got out and started playing full time. Landed a couple of gigs, playing in bars, till 2 or 3 a.m. on a Saturday night, and then turning around, going home, getting a shower, and playing a church gig at 6, and kind of just bouncing around and doing that kind of stuff. And from there, about a year into it, I met a guy named Rick Beato, who was a producer here in Atlanta. Produced, I guess he's most well known for a band called Need to Breathe. He did their big 3 records, and got into the studio with an artist I was playing with at the time. We made a record and fell in love with the whole recording process. And so I asked Rick and his assistant Ken for an internship, and spent about 3 years under the tutelage of Rick and Ken, and learned just a ton of information about recording and engineering and all this stuff. And the best part was they had me play on just about every record that came through that studio. So bands would be in and they would track their stuff, and then when they would leave, Rick would be like, okay, these 5 songs need guitar parts. So I was basically learning how to be a studio musician firsthand by actually playing on records and stuff, which to me, when I think about my music education, those 3.5 years spent at that studio is really my music education, where I learned how to be a professional musician, So yeah.
Few people probably get that kind of opportunity. That's really cool that you had that. That brought you up to the point where you're touring, you're still doing session work. So at what point do you decide, hey, this is a grind? I'm assuming that's kind of maybe what led to that. What made you go, hey, I'm going to jump into the incredibly deep ocean of YouTube guitar stuff?
Well, what's funny was I never really had that point. I've definitely had gigs and stuff and had periods in my time as a musician where I've been burned out, been stuck on one gig for too long, playing the same kind of stuff over and over again. But at the time I started doing YouTube, I was actually really loving what I was doing. I was touring with a band out of Nashville called Muddy Magnolias. I'd spent about 2 years with them, and we played all over North America and Canada and Mexico, and playing with my friend Noah Guthrie, who I'm still playing with. And so the way the YouTube thing kind of happened was I had been, I spend most of my time, instead of watching Netflix or TV or sports or whatever, I watch YouTube. And I don't necessarily know why, but for years I've just been drawn into YouTube, and it just kind of clicked for me one day. I was talking to my wife, Tilly, and I was like, you know what? This was about a year ago, actually. I was like, I want to start making YouTube videos. And she's like, well, why? And it kind of ties. So my friend was just talking about Rick Beato. About 2 years ago, he started a YouTube channel. I had talked him into getting into YouTube because Rick is a wealth of knowledge on music theory. And I'm sure you have some people that listen to the podcast that are Rick Beato subscribers, but Rick started a channel and it just exploded. He's now at like 560 something thousand subscribers. Wow. And it's just this huge, huge thing. And, I saw how he was able to kind of transition from producing music full time into producing video and teaching and entertaining people. And I was like, man, I want to try that and do it in my own way. I had an affinity for videography and photography and, making and producing my own music and kind of combining the things. And this is what it's turned into.
Well, you're doing it well, my man. I appreciate the actual time that you probably spent going like, hey, how do I want to make this my own? Because there's, obviously there are many, 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 many examples, thousands of them. If you look up YouTube and just type in guitar, it's like you've never seen that many commas. you know?
Oh yeah.
So obviously to do something and you're kind of catching lightning in a bottle, you know, in certain terms, I suppose, that for something to do well that is already being done thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of times over, and to still be able to like make your own splash on that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a challenge. I mean, every time I sit down to make a video, you know, there are a few times where a video will just happen and I can turn on the camera, have it shot and edited and ready to upload in like an hour and a half. Most times it's not that way. Most times it's beating my head against the wall, trying to find a creative way of saying something, or what do I want to say? What information am I trying to teach somebody something? Am I trying to share something? Am I trying to highlight a piece of gear? So it's definitely something I'm still figuring out. You know, I guess my outlook for YouTube is I want to be doing this 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
That's great.
I really love this thing and this platform. And the thing to me that's cool about it is this is the only platform when it comes to like media out there where the content creator, the person making the video, and the person viewing the video has a direct connection. Like Netflix doesn't have that. DirecTV doesn't have that. You know, this is the first time we've really experienced something. So I think for a lot of people who are getting into YouTube or love the platform, I think that's one of the main reasons why. And that's one of the main reasons as a creator, I love doing what I'm doing, because it's building this community of people who are like-minded and creative and love, you know, we're all guitar players, all musicians. We love gear. We love music. We love, you know, playing shows, all this stuff. So to me, it's not about, you know, making videos that look cool or getting free gear or whatever. It's literally about like building a community of people that we all like the same thing, and we can kind of learn from each other and talk about stuff in a fun way. And yeah.
Well, again, that totally lines up with the approach that we got here with Guitar Knobs, is that it's that you hit it. It's that one-to-one connection, or at least perceived one-to-one connection, until you start getting actual connection back. And that's the hard part. It's that first sort of, you know, you set yourself adrift and you're like, here I am, I'm outputting, and you're just waiting for the feels back.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And you know, I'm obviously, you just explained how you are working on things where you're kind of banging your head against the wall trying to figure out how to do this or do that. And it's like, I think that people truly don't realize how much work goes into doing something good in media. I certainly didn't, starting this out. We get asked all the time, like, oh, why don't you guys do a YouTube channel and stuff? And I actually started putting out the podcast on YouTube, audio only.
Right.
And I stopped. I'm like, this is too much work just to even upload audio. It's not that I don't want to put in the work or don't care about it. It's like I actually don't have the time it takes to do that, and the rest of my life.
Right.
And this.
Yeah.
So especially video, you're working with video and audio and recording yourself and doing, it's like, man, that's a lot of work. So not only to you, but to everybody else that is putting out content in an effort to try to connect with people, like, seriously, giant hats off to you for putting that out for everybody.
It's tough sometimes, you know, those first 5 or 6 months were like a big test, because yeah, I would spend 13, 14, 15 hours on one video. I would put it up and it would get 30 views. And the next one I would get 35 views. And I just knew, you know, I was really lucky because I had my friend Rick to kind of bounce ideas off of, who had been building this thing and had personal experience. And so he was a big help for me to kind of encourage me, because there were several times along the way where I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is just killing me, you know?
Yeah.
But if anybody out there listening to this is thinking about going down the YouTube path, you know, first of all, if you're thinking about it and you've been thinking about it and it's something that you still are considering, you're probably the right type of person to get into YouTube. It is a ton of work. It's not something to get into for the money. Like if you start a channel thinking like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to start, making these Google dollars, like that's not, you're going to be sorely disappointed. It has to be something else. It has to be like a drive for creativity and a drive to share your voice and to, whatever it is, educate, entertain. That's where it has to come from. And, but yeah, those first few months or weeks or years or whatever can be really, really tough. So.
And have a plan.
Yes.
Have a point of view, have a plan, and make sure that you can carry that plan out more than, 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the point of like, let's talk about a little bit of your content. All of your content's been really engaging. So how are you approaching what you are deciding you want to do?
Well, the first thing I think about is this something that I would want to watch? Right. So for me, one of the first things I decided I didn't want to do on YouTube was just straight ahead pedal demos. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a ton of people that do that incredibly well, but that's why I didn't want to do that. It's a really crowded space.
Right.
And to be honest, as a YouTube consumer, as someone who was on YouTube all the time, very rarely do I go and just watch pedal demos. I know that's a subjective thing, but for me, I've always, the channels and the people that I subscribe to and have stayed subscribed to for years do a couple of things. They are, their production quality is high. They're visually and engaging, and they're also sharing a story or a piece of information in a compelling way. And so for me, I thought about, okay, well, let's say, Vertex wants me to do a quote demo of their pedal. Well, how am I going to do this my way? And the thing that I figured out was, well, rather than just doing a pedal demo that some people are going to watch only if they're interested in buying the pedal and they want to hear it before they buy it, why don't I teach a concept about tone or about playing using that pedal? So I've done this now with a bunch of stuff. The overdrive stacking one is a great example of that, where, hey, we all love overdrive pedals. We all love distortion pedals. Let's talk about combining them and techniques to think about, like, before you just throw 2 pedals in front of each other on your board. Like, here's some things to kind of work out and think about first. And maybe you could try this. Or, hey, if you don't have a fuzz pedal, but you have a boost pedal and an overdrive, you can make a fuzz out of it.
Yeah.
And so what I found is with that kind of thing, it's way more engaging because people are learning something. They're gaining something, or hopefully they're learning something if I'm doing my job correctly. And I try and make it entertaining. That's why, a lot of my videos open up with like a track and some fancy looking B-roll that I've shot and a track that I've written and recorded and stuff is, I want to entertain people as well as inform them.
Well, I think something else is adding to it is you got like a kind of an intimate setup visually, and it doesn't feel like you're trying to put on a show. You're coming at somebody like how most people are playing in their homes. Like, they're maybe playing through a USB interface, or they've got an amp and in a small room with all their gear that they love, and so you're surrounded. It's sort of like it's a little bit like looking into a mirror that is helping you out.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I'm literally sitting in a storage closet. My studio, my YouTube and music studio is literally a storage closet, an unfinished closet in a basement with, if you're hearing stuff in the background, that's something in the plumbing, some pump that keeps kicking
We're
on.
wondering, like, are you rolling across
Probably
the floor?
some
Like,
Oh man,
like Team America style? Or
I also have, every time I have to do a video, I have to run upstairs and turn the HVAC system off because I've had plenty of takes ruined by this big machine kicking on in the middle of a sentence.
Yeah.
So I'm not in some big fancy studio or anything. I'm making do with what I've got to work with at the moment.
So along the notes of creating that content and using all kinds of, you're probably dipping into your obviously you have a lot of gear. So, dipping in your own gear, you're getting gear that is either being sent to you or experiencing it in different ways, much like everybody else who's doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
As you're looking at this greater landscape, what are some things that two-part question. What are you kind of just like, okay, enough about this? If you want to touch on that, you don't have to. That's fine. And also, what are a few things that you are excited about and hope to see begin to evolve
on YouTube, just in general, or
no,
or
in the gear gearosphere?
Yeah. Man, things that I'm I guess kind of tired of seeing is I don't really know if I'm tired of seeing anything, because what I feel like we're living through a golden age of gear right now.
Mm-hmm.
You think about every winter NAMM, every summer NAMM, there's at least a handful of companies that are coming out with some really hip, cool stuff that's like, whoa, I've never thought of using that kind of effect, or blending in EQ, a compression, and a boost all in one pedal or whatever. So I actually think it's a pretty great time to be in the gear, guitar, or music world. It's getting cheaper than ever to get into, making and recording your own music. You can buy an interface and a mic now for, like $100 or something, and get speakers. Pretty much everyone's smartphone has more computing power than the best studios did in the 90s, when Pro Tools started coming out. So I'm actually pretty excited about where things are at right now in the gear community, both for guitar players and just people who are wanting to create music and express themselves, specifically though, things I really love small boutique builders, like, with guitars, amps, pedals, and everything. I really love people that are like, you know what? Because it's kind of I guess I sort of identify with it in a way with the YouTube channel, where it was like, I saw an opening. I was like, you know what? There's nobody really saying what I want to say in the way that I want to say it. So why don't I just say it? And I see that with people like Dennis Fano and Novo guitars. Like, I'm a big Novo fan. I bought a Novo about 2 years ago when I was touring with the Muddy Magnolias, and fell in love. If you've seen the channel at all, you've definitely seen that guitar, because it's in almost every one of my videos. And that's what I really dig about, Novo specifically. To answer your question, I'll shout them out. Like, I'm really excited about Novo and what Dennis Fano is doing, and by proxy Revolta and Eastwood, because I've gotten to know Dennis really well over the past, maybe year and a half, and you could not meet a sweeter, more humble, down to earth dude, as well as Matthew, who you guys had on the show a while ago. Like, the guys there in Nashville are, the funny thing is, and I don't know if they'll tell you this, but I've had conversations with Matthew where it's like, they don't really care about the money. They just want to build guitars. Like, that's all they want to do. They just want to make killer guitars that people want to play. And
they love doing it. It's so clear.
They love it. Every time I go to the factory in Nashville, I stop by basically every time I'm in town, and I go hang out there, and I inevitably stay there for probably 2 or 3 hours, because we just sit and start talking about guitars and what they're doing. And, Dennis will show a prototype drawing of something he's working on. And it's a really cool place to be around and be involved in. I really, really dig those guys.
Well, and you just hit on something that obviously, we are running similar paths where, I saw an opening. I was like, the thing that I care about, that I really am into, nobody's really talking about so much in that same vein. And what you find out is that for every Novo or another more prominent boutique builder, there are several others who are equally as passionate, just haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
And they love it to a point of going massively in debt and losing their mind and all that stuff, but it doesn't matter. They still do it. I mean, there's 2 guys at my table who are doing the same thing, but they're making a living out of it. But
I've still lost my mind.
All you have to do is listen to the podcast to see where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're out there approaching this from a different angle. It's good to hear that is being considered, and not. I think a lot of people do it because they just want to say that they're, hey, I'm in the game too. But again, don't have a point of view, and it's just important, because that's what's obviously keeping people engaged and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Solid, man. Well, everybody out there, please go check out Rhett's YouTube channel. Do you want to say the official name so they can find it?
Yeah, it's just my name, Rhett Shull, just RhettShull. You just Google that, or, Google owns YouTube, so just Google it. It'll pop up.
Yeah. And if for some reason you can't possibly remember his name, or we don't have our podcast up in front of you, if you just do like stacking overdrives, it'll come up. I'm pretty sure.
Or WTF Gibson.
Or WTF Gibson. Exactly.
That'll pop up soon.
Yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much. We got a couple things to wrap up the old shoe. Sure. As everybody who is listening, who has listened before, is familiar, we've got a special segment. And if you're not, well, here you go.
Would you rather?
All right.
Nice.
Okay, so you're going to the guitar show, and you have this big old set of clear drums, and they just been laying around taking space, and you just don't play them.
You're taking drums to a guitar show?
You are.
Why would you do that?
Because you are trying to trade
you mean
them.
Clear like lucite?
That's right.
So you can see through them.
That's right.
So they're
How many
old.
pieces?
That's right.
How many pieces?
A 7 set.
Oh, nice.
Just a big old giant old set.
Oh boy.
To be specific, let's just say there's Ziccos.
Okay. That's pretty specific. I feel like this is coming from real life.
I think it is. I think it's going to end up that way.
All right.
So you come across 2 items that you're going to be able to trade. You just have to decide which ones they are.
Mm-hmm.
And the first item you come across, it's either going to be an old vintage Ampeg V2 amp.
This
specific.
is sounding very familiar.
That's right.
Where have I heard this before?
Yeah, our listeners will know if they listen back far enough. And it's you don't know
sounds like a terrible.
It's a
idea.
mystery. It's a mystery amp.
Mystery amp.
Very mystery-like, because you don't know if it works or
Weighs
not.
150 pounds.
But it looks really cool. Okay,
and you didn't, and you don't plug it in.
you don't plug it in because you don't have time. You don't care.
Okay.
You just want to get rid of the drums, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
Or you pass by, and then which catches your attention? An old Rickenbacker painted with a paintbrush.
Wait a minute. A Rickenbacker painted with a paintbrush?
That's right.
That also sounds vaguely familiar.
I think I've heard this story
yes,
somewhere before.
Yes. That sounds familiar to me.
Yeah. So the wife says there's no way in heck you're coming home with those drums. Which one of those are you going to take home? The V2, the Ampeg that you don't know it works or not, or
And it's just the
Rickenbacker
head.
painted?
It's just the head.
That's right.
Huh?
It's heavy too, and it has weird tubes in it.
And the people that have it are sketchy looking.
That's right.
Okay. From both sides. Okay.
I'll give you that.
Especially the ones with the drums.
Okay. Boy, this is crazy. I can't imagine all of these very specific things happening in real life.
Yeah.
How strange. Tony, what are you going with?
Oh man, that's a no-brainer. I'd take the Rickenbacker, even if it's got paintbrush strokes on it.
Yep.
It's going to be worth more than any crappy Ampeg.
Oh boy.
Oh, Jared, did you trade for an Ampeg? I can't
All right,
remember.
let's keep it going.
All right. Jared, what are you going with?
Well, I'll tell you what
you had the chance to do it over.
Yeah.
No, I tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to take that Ampeg.
Yeah.
And I'm going to roll the dice.
And you're going to spend how much more to get it working?
And then I'm going to take it to
Mad Cow.
Mad Cow
Yeah.
and get it 4 or some odd months later, because
He's a busy dude, Rob.
I told him to take his time. I told him
Rob
to just
Chafe.
take your time. And he was good with me on that too. So really great guy. And I did pay more than what I had into I lost on this, but I got the amp back, and I am in love with this amp.
Oh, okay.
Fantastic.
I'm in love with it. It's so
love
so
a story
pedal friendly.
with
It's
a
so
happy ending.
you wouldn't believe how friendly it is to pedals, and it's very.
It's got a lot.
It's got the
of headroom.
moxie.
It's got headroom for days.
You got the cool thing about it is the tones, they do something.
Yeah.
The lows actually give it, big lows, and the highs give it screeching highs. You turn it down, and I mean it works.
So wait, I thought this was like a hypothetical thing.
Oh yeah, that's right. Go on.
Hey, Rhett, what would you choose?
Okay, hold on. I need more information on this Rickenbacker.
Yes.
Describe this paint job to me. Is this like a solid color that somebody painted with a paintbrush? Or are we talking?
It started off as a white
It
Rickenbacker
started off as
Okay.
yes.
that someone took.
Actually, I believe this is natural.
it was natural.
I believe it's a natural.
Oh, okay, so it was a maple glow.
Maple glow, but with an old exterior house paintbrush and dark red paint.
So probably lead based.
We can only hope.
We can only
Yeah.
hope.
You can
Man.
play Led Zeppelin then.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh wow, good.
Over the pick guard too, just
Over the
to
pick
be
guard.
to be perfectly clear.
That's
right.
what more you would expect that. That's
And this
Yeah.
is a real story. My youth days, I had a friend after I got one of my guitars. He decided to get a guitar too because naturally we were going to start a band. And I came over and I didn't know a whole lot about guitars at that point, but I knew
Sure.
he did something really wrong.
Yeah. So I'm probably still gonna take my chances with the lead based paint chipping off and go with the Rick.
Okay.
excellent.
good idea.
I'm gonna go with Jared on the Ampeg.
Oh.
I like an Ampeg. A lot of my old sort of favorite bands played Ampeg stuff. I investigated a few Ampegs here and there, and I'm not a Rick guy. I'm just saying. So
Yeah.
solidly.
You're not man enough to
The
know.
amp's
I'm
gonna
not.
the amp's gonna blow your eardrums away.
Yeah, I like
I'm
a
not
loud.
either, but I've just loaded enough super heavy amps around to know
That's
that.
that's also a good point.
Yes.
Cool, man. Thank you, Jared, for our lovely
Hypothetical.
totally hypothetical.
Thanks for the
would you rather.
opportunity.
Yeah. We've got a couple things that we want to take care of real quick before we get out. Tony's favorite thing.
My favorite thing. Now I haven't done this in a couple of weeks, and I can't
had
remember.
to do it for you twice.
Did you like it when I make a long extended version?
I love it.
Todd's
Is
were
that your
longer.
I love
favorite part?
editing that. That's my favorite part.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard you would like all the spaces between the names. You're just clipping on me.
Oh no, I'm not.
I can't talk that fast.
This is
haven't
one long
taken out
name.
half of your stuff.
Well, hey, at this time in the show,
Yes,
there are some very special people that we want to thank.
and that is 100% legit.
This is 100% legit.
Yep.
This is not
I
hypothetical.
will not joke about this.
No, we do not joke. These are our executive producers. In order to become an executive producer, you have to head over to patreon.com. And you can look at that level, and there's other levels. And
/ the guitar knobs.
/ the guitar knob. Sorry about that. With every level, there are special prize packages.
Rewards, even.
Rewards, you might call them.
I will call them.
You can call them that. The penultimate
Mm-hmm.
level is our executive producer level. Because in addition to all of these great so-called rewards,
Yes.
Jared, what happens?
You get to have your name read on the thing.
And that's what I'm going to do right now.
Do it to it, Pruitt.
I'm doing to it. And first of all, I want to personally welcome on board Ken Sayers. Now, Todd had accidentally misspelled his name, and for a couple of weeks, we were giving him the wrong name.
Yeah.
Silly Billy.
And
I'm sorry.
so Todd is very sorry. He was crying.
I'm a sensitive
earlier.
guy.
He was. He could almost play a Rickenbacker. Anyhow, so Ken Sayers, welcome aboard. Corey Nigro, Doug Gann, Brad Partridge, Michael Van Zant, Doug Christ, Zach J. Wright, Gary Goodman, and Son Beckett, Darren Gregory, Robert Marfleet, John Anglin, Chris Kearney, Sean S., Oliver Gonzalez, John Daly, Robin Smith, Pete Marshall, Carlos Mancha, Matt Brammer, David Wolfson, Martin Cliff, and our original executive producer, Mr. Tom Berezin.
Hey, there you go, everybody. Thank you guys so much for doing that, and thank you to our $1 and $5 patrons. You guys truly help keep the show going, and
We
it
love
is
you.
so truly appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Rhett,
Yes.
thank you.
seriously, I want to say thank you guys for having me. This has been a ton of fun, and I am a genuine fan of the show. So
Great.
huge thanks.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
my man. That it means a lot coming from you. So you've already told people your YouTube channel. Are there other ways that people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, RhettShull.com, just my name.com. And there you can find links to, I have some merch. I have some of my own Kemper profiles that I have created and am selling. And I'm also
Nice.
have all of my tour dates posted on there. I'm going on tour in November. So if you are in the Southeast, you want to come hang at a show, go check that out.
Awesome. I think it's worth also mentioning, we have obviously a lot of builders on the show, and for all of our builder listeners and official knobs, if you want to get him to play your stuff,
Yeah.
get a hold of him.
Yeah, you can email me from the website directly and we can get in touch.
Yes.
I'll also be at Winter NAMM hanging out. So
Hey, we will be too, so we will see you there.
Let's do a thing. Let's make a video or something.
I like it. I
Yes.
like it. I'm all over it.
Yes.
All right, Tony.
Well,
We had to do this for you too. By the
did
way,
you?
Yes.
I didn't get a chance to hear how they
Yes.
sounded. Hopefully they
Well,
were good.
they're
They'd better
good.
been good.
They're amazing.
So let's just say you need a custom pick guard, or you're changing out pickups.
I didn't
or
say that.
all kinds of things. Go to pickguardian.com. The easiest way that you can see, what I do,
Mm-hmm.
order some stuff up, send me. There's a link to email. Always best to ask questions. If you want to see some of the projects that I've been doing, head over to Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and the name is Pick Guardian and the number 1. And there's some things on Facebook too. But yeah, get a hold of me. We'll take care of you.
Good stuff.
And if you have a pick guard from Pick Guardian, take a picture of it and drop him a
Post it.
hashtag and
Post
tag him
it.
in it. And same
It
thing
has
for Jared over
It
here.
has a sticker on the back.
It does have a sticker
Yeah.
on the back.
Jared?
Everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, if you need some pickups, new pickups or old looking pickups, whatever, go to BrandonWildPickups.com. And I also do repairs and get them out pretty quickly and pretty efficient doing so. Jared at BrandonWildPickup.com. Pickups.com. Sorry about that, is my email.
Cool. You can get a hold of me at Todd at theguitarknobs.com. Drop me a line. Check us out on Instagram. Make sure you're following us. Stay with it. Thank you to Rhett. Thank you to Tony. Thank you to Jared. Thank all of you for listening. Have an awesome guitar week and subscribe.
Yeah. Thank you too. Okay.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.